Frank, a spirited 68-year-old retired teacher, never thought much about aging until morning he tripped over his living room rug. It wasn't the rug's fault. It was his legs. They'd been quietly betraying him for months. First, it was needing to hold the railing longer when climbing stairs. Then, the subtle wobble when he stood up too fast. But that morning, as he stumbled and barely caught himself on the coffee table, fear shot through him like lightning. Is this it? He thought. Am I becoming one of those old men who can't trust his own body? His doctor called it natural muscle loss, but Frank refused to accept that. He dug into research and discovered a shocking truth. Your walking speed after 70 is one of the strongest predictors of longevity. Slow, shuffling steps aren't just a sign of aging. They're a red flag for weakening muscles, poor circulation, and even early cognitive decline. But here's the good news. It's reversible. Frank started a simple 10-minute daily ritual, leg drills. He'd march in place while brushing his teeth, do seated leg lifts during TV commercials, and take the long way to his mailbox. Within months, his balance improved, his stride lengthened, and that rug, he kicked it aside like a bad habit. Lesson: your legs are your lifeline. Move them with purpose, or risk losing them to time. Start today. Stand up right now and take 20 deliberate heel-to-toe steps. Feel that? That's your future self thanking you. Linda, a 62-year-old former nurse, first noticed it at a family reunion. Her grandson, Jake, squeezed her hand playfully, and she yelped in pain. Later, she struggled to open a pickle jar while her daughter watched with pity. "Mom, just let me do it," she said. That stung worse than the arthritis. Linda had always been a strong one, the woman who carried groceries, rearranged furniture, and prided herself on her firm handshake. Now, her grip was fading, and with it, her confidence. She learned this wasn't just about jars. Science shows grip strength is a crystal ball for your future health. Weak hands signal muscle loss everywhere, raising risk for falls, fractures, and even heart disease. But Linda fought back. She kept a stress ball in her car, squeezing at red lights. She bought cheap putty and kneaded it while watching the news. She even hung a resistance band on her kitchen door to do finger stretches while coffee brewed. 6 months later, at Jake's birthday party, she popped the cap off a soda bottle one-handed. The look on his face? Priceless. Lesson: your hands are power tools. Use them or lose them. Grab a tennis ball right now and squeeze it 10 times with each hand. That's not just exercise. It's your independence knocking. George, a 71-year-old widower, dreaded nights. He'd fall asleep easily, only to jolt awake at 3 a.m., heart racing, staring at the ceiling until sunrise. His doctor prescribed sleeping pills, but they left him groggy, like living in a fog, he said. Meanwhile, his blood pressure crept up and his temper shortened. One night, desperate, he Googled, "Why can't old people sleep?" and uncovered a brutal truth. Poor sleep after 60 isn't normal. It's a silent killer. Fragmented sleep accelerates dementia, weakens immunity, and even erodes muscle. But George also found hope. He banned screens after 8 p.m., swapping Netflix for a paperback book with a red-tinted reading light. Blue light blockers didn't cut it. He drank tart cherry tea, a natural melatonin booster, and used a 4-7-8 breathing trick. Inhale for 4, hold for 7, exhale for 8 when he woke up. Within weeks, he slept like a log. His blood pressure dropped, and his morning coffee tasted better. Lesson: sleep isn't a luxury. It's your body's repair shift. Tonight, try this. Plug your phone in another room, read a real book, and sip something warm. Your 3 a.m. self will weep with gratitude. Susan, a 59-year-old school librarian, didn't realize how much she relied on her grocery cart until the day she forgot it, walking the aisles empty-handed. She felt unsteady, like a toddler taking first steps. She clutched shelves for balance, her face burning with shame. Is this how it starts? She wondered. Next a walker, then a nursing home. What Susan didn't know: your ability to stand unaided predicts longevity better than blood tests. Researchers found seniors who couldn't stand on one leg for 10 seconds were nearly twice as likely to die within a decade. But Susan turned panic into action. She practiced supermarket yoga, walking slowly, placing each foot with intention, like a tightrope walker. At home, she brushed her teeth on one leg, switching sides when the toothpaste bit. She even glued a line of tape on her kitchen floor to practice heel-to-toe walking. A year later, she carried a watermelon without wobbling. Lesson: balance isn't luck, it's practice. Try this now. Stand behind a chair, lift one foot, and hold for 5 seconds. That's your foundation. Build it. Bob, a 70-year-old retired mechanic, used to meet his buddies every Friday at Lou's Diner. Then, one by one, they canceled too tired, too achy, or just not feeling social. Soon, Bob stopped calling too. Days blurred into weeks of TV dinners and silence. His daughter worried, but he brushed it off. I'm just saving money. The truth? Loneliness was eating him alive. Studies show chronic isolation is as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day, linked to heart disease, dementia, and weaker immunity. But Bob's turnaround came at a hardware store. A stranger joked about his rent selection, and they got talking. Turns out, the man ran a weekly breakfast club for retirees. Bob forced himself to go, expecting awkwardness. Instead, he found laughter, stories, and a reason to shave again. Lesson: friendships aren't just fun, they're life support. Text one old friend today, even if it's just, hey, remember that time? Martha, a 65-year-old grandmother, loved cooking for others. For herself, toast, cereal, maybe a frozen meal. Easy, cheap, but her energy plummeted by noon, and her doctor warned her prediabetes was looming. One day, her granddaughter asked, Nana, why don't you eat real food? Martha's fridge was full of condiments and takeout boxes. She realized malnutrition isn't just for the starving. It's hiding in plain sight in seniors' kitchens. Lack of protein speeds muscle loss, and processed carbs fuel inflammation. Martha's fix? She made eating an event. She bought colorful plates, prepped mason jar salads, and kept hard-boiled eggs ready. Her new rule: if it didn't grow or have a face, don't eat it alone. 6 months later, her diabetes risk vanished, and she danced at her granddaughter's wedding. Lesson: food is fuel, not filler. Next meal, ask, will this keep me strong or just full? Tom, a 63-year-old former mailman, avoided his basement stairs after getting winded halfway down. He joked, guess I live upstairs now. But inside, he was terrified. His father had been bedridden by 75. Was this his fate? Then he read about the stair test. People who can climb 4 flights without stopping have half the heart disease risk of those who can't. Tom started small, 1 extra step daily. He'd pause, breathe, and push. Some days, he'd only manage 2, but he kept going. A year later, he surprised his wife by carrying laundry up and down without pausing. She cried, Lesson: your legs are your lifeline. Today, take the stairs, even if it's just 1 flight. Your future self is counting on you. Diane, a fiery 67-year-old retired teacher, never considered herself a grudge holder until the day her neighbor's dog ruined her prize roses. She fumed for weeks. How dare you let that mutt run wild, she'd mutter, her jaw clenched so tight it ached. But the real pain wasn't in her garden, it was in her body. Her arthritis flared, her blood pressure spiked, and her sleep vanished. She blamed aging, but her doctor asked a surprising question. Do you often feel angry? Turns out, chronic anger floods your body with cortisol, a stress hormone that inflames joints, hardens arteries, and ages cells faster. Diane's rage wasn't just emotional. It was literally shortening her life. Her wake-up call came during a grandchild's birthday party. She snapped at a toddler for spilling juice, then burst into tears, horrified at herself. The next day, she bought a punching bag. Not for punching, for walking. She started daily rage walks, stomping through her neighborhood whenever bitterness bubbled up. With each step, she imagined kicking resentment into the curb. Within months, her blood pressure normalized, and her roses? She replanted them. Thornier this time. Lesson: anger is acid. Don't let it eat your vessel. Next time you're stewing, lace up your shoes and march it off. Your heart will thank you. Joan, 60, had knitted sweaters for everyone she loved, until her fingers betrayed her. Stiff, achy joints turned her needles into torture tools. She quit cold turkey, hiding her yarn in the attic. What's next? She wondered. Losing my handwriting? Forgetting how to hug? Her doctor diagnosed osteoarthritis, but offered little hope. It's just part of getting older. Joan refused to surrender. She discovered hand therapy exercises, tiny movements that could rebuild dexterity. She massaged her fingers with warm flaxseed oil every morning, soaked them in Epsom salt baths at night, and used rubber band stretches while sipping coffee. Slowly, her hands softened. One rainy afternoon, she dug out her knitting needles and crafted a scarf, loopy and uneven, but hers. Today, she teaches a knitting through arthritis class at the community center. Her students' first project? Mittens with no fingers, because adaptation, not perfection, is the goal. Lesson: your hands are storytellers. Don't let pain silence them. Try this. Trace circles on a table with your fingertips for 2 minutes daily. It's not just exercise. It's rebellion against time. Jim, a 69-year-old retired engineer, didn't notice he was shrinking until his annual physical. You've lost an inch, his doctor said offhandedly. Jim laughed it off. Must be my socks. But later, staring at old photos, he realized his posture resembled a wilting sunflower. His lower back ached, and he'd started ducking through doorways he'd once cleared easily. Research shocked him. Losing height isn't inevitable. It's preventable. Spinal compression from weak muscles and brittle bones robs seniors of inches and dignity. Jim fought back with anti-shrinking drills, wall angels, sliding arms up/down while pressing his spine flat, and calf raises while brushing his teeth. He swapped soda for calcium-rich almond milk and took vitamin D3. A year later, his doctor blinked at the chart. You grew a ½ inch. Jim smirked. New socks. Lesson: stand tall literally. Press your back against the wall daily. Reach for the ceiling and hold for 10 seconds. Gravity's a bully. Fight back. Carol, 64, loved her afternoon naps until they became traps. She'd wake groggier, her head foggy, her evenings spent staring blankly at reruns. Her husband teased, "You sleep more than the cat." But Carol felt anything but rested. She stumbled onto a study. Excessive daytime sleepiness in seniors predicts cognitive decline. Her naps were hijacking her deep sleep cycles, leaving her brain starved. Desperate, she replaced naps with 5-minute micro-meditations, sitting by the window, focusing on birdsong or traffic rhythms. At first, it felt silly. I'm just sitting here. But soon her mind sharpened. She started a puzzle club, her fingers flying over pieces as her husband watched in awe. Lesson: rest isn't about closing your eyes. It's about opening your mind. Try this. Set a timer for 5 minutes. Close your eyes and count your breaths. When your mind wanders, start over. It's a brain gym, not a nap. Ed, 71, avoided mirrors. Until the morning he caught his reflection while shaving. His shoulders hunched forward. His spine curved like a question mark. When did I turn into my father? He thought, grief-stricken. His grandkids had started calling him Quasimodo behind his back. But posture isn't just about looks. Slumping compresses lungs, restricts digestion, and accelerates spinal decay. Ed's fix? Posture snacks. Every hour, he'd pause and press his head, shoulders, and hips against a wall for 30 seconds. He taped a sticky note to his computer. Sight like a king. 6 months later, his granddaughter hugged him and gasped, Grandpa, you're taller than me again. Lesson: your spine is your throne. Treat it royally. Right now. Roll your shoulders back, lift your chin, and pretend a string's pulling you skyward. Feel that? That's confidence. Ruth, 66, waited by the phone every Sunday, hoping her kids would call. They were busy, careers, grandkids, life. But each silent hour felt like a verdict. You're irrelevant. Loneliness carved a hole in her chest, and her health began to fray. Migraines, dizziness, endless colds. Then she overheard a teen at the library complain about her boring grandma stories. Ruth had an idea. She launched a podcast, Granny's Unsolicited Advice. She recorded tales of her youth. First heartbreaks, disco disasters, parenting fails. Listeners flooded in. Strangers messaged, "You're like the grandma I never had." Best of all, her kids subscribed. Now they call every week. "Mom, tell me the story about..." Lesson: don't wait for an invitation to matter. Hit record, pick up a pen, or shout your truth. The world needs your voice. Al, 72, rattled when he walked. His pillbox stuffed with 6 prescriptions for blood pressure, cholesterol, and mild depression. But the more he took, the worse he felt. Dizzy, forgetful, hollow. One night, he Googled side effects and realized polypharmacy kills more seniors than most diseases. The next day, he marched his doctor, "What can I ditch?" Together, they swapped 2 pills for turmeric capsules and water aerobics. Al started swimming laps at the YMCA, the chlorine washing away his lethargy. Within months, his BP stabilized and his laugh returned, deep and booming like a man unshackled. Lesson: pills can't replace living. Ask your doctor, is this essential? Then dive into life, literally. Rose, 69, blamed her fatigue on aging until she stumbled into her overgrown backyard. Weeds choked her once vibrant tomato patch. On a whim, she grabbed a trowel. Digging reignited forgotten muscles. Sunlight warmed her bones. Dirt under her nails felt like rebellion. She replanted the garden, ate sun-ripened veggies, and shared baskets with neighbors. Her energy surged, her skin glowed, and her doctor gaped at her blood work. "Are you sure you're 69? Science explains it. Gardening, combine, strength training, vitamin D, and mindfulness. A trifecta for longevity. Rose's tomatoes? They're now community legend. Lesson: grow something, anything. A basil plant on a windowsill counts. Life begins when you get your hands dirty.